What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and, well, we got another, kind of a hyped-up band I've noticed over the past year or so. I've been hearing a lot of noise about these guys, and I figured, okay, with a new album, it's time to listen to these guys and see what they're all about. I am talking about the latest offering from Gaerea, COMA. This also came out on October 25th, this time on Season of Mist Records. Man, Season of Mist has just been popping out shit left and right this year. But anyways, this is, I believe, their fourth studio full-length overall. And, well, this is a very popular band right now from Portugal, and they're described as black metal, and I would say for the most part that's accurate. However, I think there are a few extra things that kind of make them a little bit different from a lot of black metal bands. And kicking things off with the Poets Ballet, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, like, pretty much 90% of this album, the beginnings of the songs are a clean melody of some sort. Whether they be sinister, dark, or atonal, or somber in some cases, but almost every single song, except for one, maybe two songs, all have a clean melody to start off with. So right off the rip, you kind of get the sense that the album's a bit formulaic in terms of the way they're putting the songs together. You starting off with a clean melody, which nothing wrong with that, but does it have to be on every song or most of the songs? I don't think so. I think you could have started more songs off with something big and heavy or something grandiose. But regardless, the song starts off with that, and then it's more of a sullen song, low, clean singing. It's rather beautiful sounding, as well as some choirs. And then, right off the rip, afterwards, it just shifts dynamics into giant tremolo melodies with a lumbering groove. I would argue kind of similar to bands like Rotting Christ, for example. But then some of the blasts and tremolo sections that follow definitely kind of harken back to second wave Norwegian black metal, very much in the vein of bands like, I would say, Emperor and Satyricon in particular. And there's even some Dirk Verburen blast beats, which you know a Dirk blast when you hear it. And then the song Hope Shatters, which was actually one of my favorites on the album. It's more of an atonal clean riff, and then it gets into darker tremolo harmonies and blast beats, in which the tremolo harmonies, it sounds like one guitar is playing black metal tremolos and then another guitar is playing death metal tremolos. So it's it sits right in the middle, which I think was nicely done. Then it Then it gets into something that a good chunk of this album kind of follows, and that's groove, which I do like groove in black metal, but not all the time, not all the time. And I feel this album, or this song, kind of started that trend where most of the songs just kind of go into a groove, and some of it just kind of repeats itself, it's very repetitive. But it does turn a little bit thrashy for a moment, and then you get more of those high-end black metal tremolos coming more out more up front in the instrumentation. But there was a really nice, tasty, clean melody at the end. But then you get into the song Suspended, which I will say was probably my favorite song on the album as a whole. It's a lot more evil, sinister sounding, and it's one of the doomier tracks on the album. Kind of sounds a bit like Swallow the Sun, which I'll say this song kind of sounds better than the majority of the new Swallow the Sun album. And there's even some triplet chugs and tremolos to kind of give it a little bit of a death metal feel, some nice acoustic and bass work, and then it ends with low cleans and doomy riffs. World Ablaze, this one, dark clean melody and into groove, but then you get into some double time and D-beat stomps. And then it turns gears into another trope this album starts going through, and that's post-hardcore influence. There's some post-hardcore elements, and I'll just go ahead and say I'm not really a fan of post-hardcore. To me, that's kind of somewhat off-putting to me. Like, I don't know what it is about post-hardcore I just can't get into. And whenever these guys were incorporating a little bit of that on this album, I'm thinking, I don't know if it was necessary, or maybe that was just what they wanted to do, and that's just how it came out. But I will say, the tremolos and the blasts, I immediately thought of bands like Sulphur Aeon, for example. And there's even some like triplet swings and some creepy whispers. And then the title track, this one has one of the better starts on an album. Like, there's more nasty riffs and like groovy drums and tremolos that kind of almost feel like Behemoth. Like, there are little nods to Behemoth on here, I would say, on this track, and later on the song Unknown. Like, the blasts and the tremolos felt very much like Behemoth. But back to the title track, you do get some more atonal riffs and even a solo, which I counted only one lead on the entire album, and it was on the title track. Wilted Flower, it's a little more eerie, it gets back to being doom, but then those post-hardcore elements come back, and I'm just like, eh. And then the song Reborn, atonal melodies start off with, and then it gets into these, like, monstrous riffs and blast beats and triplet swings, and there's even like another thrashy moment on here, which was really cool, and more dark blast beats, and then suddenly towards the end it just soars with melody. And then Shapeshifter, this one kind of goes back to the vibe of Suspended a little bit, where it's a little more sinister, it's a little more evil, and it's again doomy, and then it just unleashes into like triplet chugs and blasts and even some nice clean melodies. And I've already talked about Unknown, but I will say there's more of those post-hardcore elements. And then Kingdom of Thorns, the closing track, probably the most different song on the album. Like, it's more somber and sorrowful with its melodies and the atonal riffs. Granted, it's still very groove oriented and you do get some blast beats, but man, the tremolo melodies on this track definitely kind of bring out a more somber feel. Production-wise, I will say I think it's a little bit too polished for the style they're going for. I think if the guitars were a little grittier and the drums sounded less processed, I think I would dig the production on here more. And then probably my biggest complaints, the post-hardcore elements that show up and the vocals. To me, the vocals don't really fit the music they're going for on here. Like, to me, the vocals, and I hate to say it because this guy's kind of relevant right now for the wrong reasons, Tim Lambrestis, Beesus, the frontman of Gaerea's vocals sound so much like Tim Lambessis. I just can't get into it. And this is coming from a former As I Lay Dying fan, and I have a couple of their albums and they're still good, but I just don't think those vocals belong on this album. I just don't. So overall, despite all my complaints, for the most part, it was still enjoyable to listen to. Although I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I do think there is some good stuff on here, like particularly when the songs get a little heavier and a little more sinister sounding. But I would say personally, if there wasn't like the post-hardcore thing going on here and the vocals were a little more shrill, then I think I would have dug this more as a proper black metal album. But with all these extra things coming in, it's like, I don't know. I was expecting something and I got something a little bit different, but it's still good. Like, it's nothing bad or anything. It's just not quite my cup of tea. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.